officials, saying, quote, "This was a unique and historic moment when we believe the country needed our elected officials to put aside strongly held differences and demonstrate unity." Well, let's bring in our company to react. Turning Point contributor Erin Elmore and host of the Rob Carson's What in the World, as well as the Newsmax Daily podcast, Rob Carson. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you.
All right, Erin, I'm going to start with you. Obviously, JP Morgan Chase, they can do whatever they want with their money. That's their choice, their money. But they haven't announced the names of these Republicans who won't receive the donations. We don't know who those people are yet. But what impact is this going to have on these lawmakers who, some of them trying to get reelected in 2022 ahead of these midterms?
You know, I don't think that Republican politicians are surprised by this at all. We know that these corporations and the mainstream media are totally in the tank for Democrats. They're not surprised. And what I would say to these corporations and the people working there, be very careful what you wish for, because we know that the Democrats aren't supporters of big banks and Wall Street. They want to see rates increased and price increase and breaking up the big banks and robbing Peter to pay Paul and sort of making their money go away. So really, this isn't about freedom and democracy. This is about silencing speech that they don't like, and they're just simply doing the bidding of the Democrat Party. Yes, Republicans will be impacted, but I do believe that we are resourceful and we will find other ways to raise money. This is one corporation. Many of them are leftist, and we just have to deal with it.
You know, Rob, I do feel like we are in a cancel culture type of world, and JP Morgan Chase is doing this. Now other companies might get an idea and say, we should probably do the same thing. Do you think that lawmakers should be concerned about this and the precedent that it sets?
Guys, I think that JP Morgan Chase is a small-time player with regard to fundraising for Democrats. But this is the same thing that Facebook and Twitter and YouTube has done to conservatives in the past. And honestly, I've had Facebook pages canceled the day after the election.
Speaking of Facebook, which Rob brought up, one of their top executives, Nick Clegg, was on ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos yesterday. Here's what he had to say about the ban that Rob just mentioned.
It doesn't matter who you are. You can be the Pope, the Queen of England, the President of the United States. You cannot use our services, and I hope most people would think this is reasonable, to aid, abet, foment, or praise acts of violence.
That's the standard. Okay. Now that we're clear on this, all of these other people that are on Facebook that promote rioting, they promote abortion, they promote all of these other things that apparently never rise to that level. They're not banned. Why is Facebook allowed to get away with this sort of inequity in their guidelines?
Because they're a politically motivated leftist corporation that's also doing the bidding of the Democrat Party. Yes, we've seen anti-Semitism, threats of death to Jews, threats of death to all sorts of people on Facebook. But when it comes to a Republican, it will be a totally different double standard. And what I would say to anyone, whether you're an independent, you lean left, you're on the right, you have to realize this is dangerous for every American. They come for the Republicans first, then they come for the Democrats, and then they come for you and I. And this is truly censorship in its greatest form. It's hypocrisy in its greatest form. The hypocrisy is so thick, you can cut it with a knife, but no one's going to do anything about it because it's an essential service and they are, quote unquote, not the government. But as we saw, I think, come out in the last couple of days, Zuckerberg and Fauci were in cahoots. So there might be some government interaction there that people could argue that they're not exactly operating as a wholly independent private company. I hope that the chickens come home to roost for Mark Zuckerberg and his cronies.
You know, there's one place where President Trump and all those other lawmakers are not banned, and it's on the daily Newsmax, the Newsmax Daily with Rob Carson. Rob, tell us about the new podcast that you have.
Well, first of all, just before I get into this, Matt Walsh, I'll take Abuela's money. My house is terrible. We want Chip and Joanna from the TV show to come 20 years. And we try to get to the meat and potatoes of the day's events with some commentary and with some comedy as well. It's hard to do. Guys, listen, I made it through 2020, able to make people laugh with my TV show on Newsmax. I'm big fans of all of you.
Erin, great to have you. Rob, congrats on the podcast.
Thank
you. Hope to
you.
have you back soon.
Congrats, Rob.
Thank you.
All right. Well, up next, why stay